Hello, everybody. Welcome to Conahey Southern, the CSX HO division layout. And I hope you enjoyed the episode one of the layout build and update. Sorry it took so long to get that out to you guys because that was all really filmed during 2022. I wanted to have it ready for my surprise announcement in 2023, but somehow or another, between the shuffle of my laptop and my hard drive and my SD cards, things got lost or shuffled around in the places that shouldn't have been. But I actually stumbled upon them, and it's like, oh, good, I found it, and I'll post it anyway, even though it was from 2022. It was supposed to have been for January 2023 release, but here we are in August, or actually September now of 2024. So I'm a little late on that one. So for 2023, I was getting really busy, and I felt as though to take the time out to film every stage I was going through was taking too much time out of what I wanted to do here. So a lot of the things I'm going to discuss for the episode 2 of the Conahey Southern CSX division, I'm going to use photos. Photos were a lot easier for me to do, to update. And don't worry, there'll be some video footage in there of trains running as well for you guys to enjoy. But 2023 was a real busy year concentrating on this. And I'll show you guys and explain to you guys how I got this far. I know people have been pounding the doors down asking me, what about the addition that I mentioned? And that has started. That'll be in episode 3. So hold on. I'll bring that to you guys. And appreciate you guys' support. So it blows me away how long I've been into doing this already. 2022. And here we are in 2024. So what do I think about HO at this point in time after being into this for just about almost 2 years? I like it. I love it. I like the DCC. I'm used to it now. I'm used to the functions of the locomotives. I like the features in the DCC. I like how the biggest thing I like about HO is that I can buy any name brand HO and buy any name brand DCC control system and run it with anything that I want. As for that's what was nice about HO. It follows NMRA standards, which means I can buy an Atlas locomotive, scaled trains, Athearn, Walthers, and as long as it has a DCC decoder in it, it doesn't matter what name brand it is. I can run it with any name brand DCC control system, such as Digitrax, NCE. So it's a lot nicer and broader, I think, anyway, over O gauge. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my O gauge trains, but let's face it, I shouldn't have to buy 2 or 3 different systems to run multiple manufacturers' trains, and that's the biggest downfall. So I'm Lionel. I understand Lionel has the base 3 out there, but it still cannot control MTH DCS trains. It just can't. It doesn't have the capabilities. So, the other thing I like about HO is the availability of modern day trains. I can literally watch a train go by. 9 times out of 10, if I see something on that train that I like, it'll be available in HO. And the correct car. A lot of times in O gauge, they'll paint cars that are not correct for that paint scheme. One thing I learned in HO, which I didn't realize until I stepped into it, is how many different manufacturers of cars there are, freight cars. You know, when you see a O gauge hopper car, a covered hopper, you're like, okay, that's a covered hopper car. Not realizing, okay, well, if you go into HO, you have Thrall, you got Trinity, you got Pullman Standard, and then there's different models designations of all them hopper cars as well. So they really break it down to realistic, prototypical what you would see out there, and it's really impressive. So it has blown me away to the point where all right, now I gotta have this type of hopper car or that type of hopper car, and I enjoy talking to the people, especially at the Great Scale Train Show. They've been very helpful, the club members and the vendors who sell HO out there, and they take the time to explain things to me. Even though I'm new to this, it's like they don't care. They took the time out and they explained the different things. Like, for example, gondolas. There's trash gondolas out there. What I didn't know is that there's, for example, there's a 6400 series and a 6000 series. Well, what's the difference? You can't physically see it in HO, but it's the 6400 is the amount of cubic feet it can hold. So you got a 6400 and a 6000. The 6000 obviously will hold less, but the 6400 is meant for construction and debris, or CDI, I guess what they call it, and the 6000 series is meant for scrap metal. So now you're getting into specific loads for specific cars, and it's like that's to me that's pretty cool. But at any rate, so let's take a look at what I did for 2023. I'll explain all that as I'm going through photos. I'll show you some runs that I've done, and then that'll bring us up to date, and we'll do an episode 3 and bring you to what's currently going on for 2024. And thank you again for watching. So let's go. Let's check it out. What did I do for 2023? So let's start what I'm using to build the scenery. So for the scenery, I'm using Woodland Scenics products. 90% of what you're seeing me putting down on top of layout for the ballast and the bushes and the grass, the trees, is by Woodland Scenics. One of the cars I've always wanted for O gauge is this 64-foot Trinity reefer car. Now, somebody in the O gauge community said, "Yeah, well, MTH made this already." And I said, "No, they didn't. It's not an accurate car at all." I said it doesn't even have the reefer arm in front of it. And they defended MTH, of course, saying, "Yeah, well, that's as close as you're going to get. So why are you fighting it?" So it's like, okay. And then somebody else in the O gauge community, there's other comments saying that people wouldn't be able to afford this model anyway because it'd probably be $200, and they're probably right. So here we are, HO scale. I finally get what I've always wanted, the 64-foot Trinity refrigerator car, modern day. I believe there's also a 72-foot, which Walther's recently released, but these are very cool pieces. This is where we last left off for episode 1. So this is how I ended episode 1. This is as far as I got for 2022. So we're going to move on with the build for 2023. I was used to having lights in buildings, and I wanted that same feature in HO. So I found a vendor that was selling LED light strips that were good for 12 volts, which made it nice because I've got you can buy 12 volt power supplies, DC power supplies, really cheap. And also, if you notice with the ADM facility, I did add another row or a stack of silos behind it. So now it looks pretty much like Sterling Ravenhawk's setup. One of the things I really wanted were all three CSX Pride and Service locomotives in HO scale. And here we are, we have the scale trains, all three CSX Pride and Service locomotives. The Veterans 911 and the police locomotive. Very cool pieces. Next, I decided to add a post office and a CSX yard office. Both of these buildings are Walther's kits that I built and painted. I also added LEDs to these buildings as well. In the back corner of the layout, you can see this propane facility that I wanted to deliver to. We do have a propane facility here in my town. This particular company has went out of business and somebody else owns it now. In the next three photos, I'm working on the grass, the trees, roadways, and the basic scenery. And I'm getting excited because it's making the layout come to life in reality. I experimented with gluing Woodland Scenic's ballast to the Bachman Easy Track roadbed. I like how it came out. Next, I added a Walther's fire station. I always wanted a fire station house, and so I decided to add that right across from the ADM facility. So here's a nighttime shot after adding all the LEDs to the other buildings. So here you can see I'm about ready to build this framed ranch tract house. It's a Walther's kit, and also there's a Walther's chain link fence kit. I'm going to use that to put around the refrigerated warehouse. The roadways are Walther's Scene Master, uh, you know, roads. And then I'm adding telephone poles, realistic telephone poles. Those are Woodland Scenics. So between Walther's and Woodland Scenics is what's mainly on my HO layout. I'm pretty happy at this point how the HO layout is progressing. I'm using Woodland Scenics trees. I really like how the trees look as well as the brush. It just makes the layout pop. I'm just so happy how this is turning out. And as you can see, the progress of and I'm using a mix of different colors as well. Next, I installed the Woodland Scenics telephone poles. Although it's not 100% perfect, I'm still happy with how it came out. After that, I installed the chain link fence around the refrigerated warehouse, as well as I decided to go around the propane facility as well because that really is fenced and gated here in town as well as it should be. So, yeah, here it is complete. I got the Walther's tract house built, but spoiler, it doesn't stay there. Stay tuned for episode 3. So I got this backdrop from a highly recommended eBay seller, and as you can see, the end result, I'm very, very happy, and it's very realistic. I started adding Woodland Scenic's brush to make the sidings a little bit more, like it's built up with weeds and brush and stuff like that to make it a little bit more realistic. Adding small details is what makes these scenes come to life. Here you can see the overall progress of everything. With scenery, it makes it easy to come up with photos that are realistic. I added this realistic backdrop to the layout in the back to have realistic photo opportunities. The Woodland Scenics brush and grass make the layout that much more realistic looking. Here I added Woodland Scenics Scene Master, fire truck, and the firefighter figures. And quite honestly, I like the figures, but I don't like the truck. It's too plasticky, not realistic enough for me. So I'm going to exchange that out for a more higher end 187 HO fire truck. And then my ultimate goal would be to add lights to it. Here's a couple of still shots of the updated scenery with the fence and the brush and the trees. And you can see the train rolling through. Here's a couple more pictures of trains running through the scenery in the background on my HO layout. And you can see it makes for great photos that you see me post on Instagram. So I wanted to build a scene that showed a hill or a little mountain that was cut out for the track work. And I went out online on the websites and to see how I wanted to build this. And I did not like the idea of hydrocal or plaster of Paris because of, that's a weight issue and the way you got to work with it. It's messy. I didn't like that option. The paper mache just didn't seem realistic enough to me to make one out of paper mache, so I ditched that idea. The other one was to stack up and glue together styrofoam pieces together and to shape it with a hot heat gun. I didn't like that idea either. Finally, I ran into a YouTube guy who came up with a concept to use a low loft polyfill, like for what you would use inside of a crib or toys. It's a low loft batting material, polyfill material, and he showed where you could buy it on eBay. It was quite a unique thing. It made it lightweight, and I wanted something easy and not messy, and this was it. So he showed how you would stack up and glue, so you still glue together these stacks of styrofoam to make the shape of the mountain you want. But you didn't have to do any cutting with the hot heat gun. Instead, once you got your basic shape done, you put the low loft polyfill on top of it, and you matted it and glued it down, and you let that sit and dry, and then you painted over that with the latex. Now, what was nice about the low loft polyfill is that it has that texture of, the dirt and the grass already made into it. So you could literally just paint it, put some trees on it like I did, and some brush, and the result, I was pretty happy with the result of this. I think it came out really nice. The trees on this one are not woodland scenics. They're actually realistic trees that were custom made by a seller on eBay, so I decided to use those. But I'm really happy with how this mountain or hill came out by just using pink styrofoam and a low loft polyfill available on Amazon. And if anybody's interested, I could probably find that link to that video of that guy showing how to do this. But I think this is the way to go. It was easy and fast and not messy at all. For those wondering, this is the original AnyRail plan that I came up with. Alright, so let's enjoy some train runs I made during 2023 during the build.